There is quite a lot to unpackage from this chapter of My Hero Academia. But before I get into the content within this chapter, there's something I gotta address that kind of aggravates me a little bit. And I saw yesterday, and I was waiting for this chapter to come out on Viz before I talked about it. So, apparently, there is individuals that are extremely upset that Bakugo and Endeavor is getting a major spotlight in this arc we're getting right now. And the reason for it, obviously, is because Bakugo and Endeavor, when you think about their origins, people didn't like them at the start. And obviously, they've changed a lot if you look at what's all happened from the Pro Hero arc to Bakugo and, how he got captured by, the League of Villains and stuff and how he's changed since then. It's obvious the characters have made a lot of growth. They're not perfect, but we don't want perfect characters. I think, all can agree we want flawed characters that grow as the story goes on. But the point is, though, is that there's individuals that are just downright, absolutely hating this arc, automatically just saying this is an awful arc or whatever, because Endeavor and Bakugo is in it and being focused on. I'm just like, are you serious right now? Like, can you not look past the origin and see what has happened right now with their characters and how much they've changed? It's kind of like what I said already many times in the past. Endeavor as a character, is he a good person? No. But is he someone that is changing? Yes. And as I said in the Pro Hero arc, he may be going through redemption. He may be going through a large redemption arc, but it does not mean that he's going to be forgiven from one good deed. After doing one good deed doesn't mean he's going to be forgiven. So even after what happened with High End, I think many can agree, even if we like Endeavor as a character now, we really love him, it doesn't mean we forgive his actions of what he did to Todoroki, the entire family. So that's the point here. But there's individuals that just outright hate Endeavor just because they want to think about what his origin was and not look at what has happened since. It's exactly how people would view Bakugo. That's exactly what really fits with this theme when you think about it, is that Bakugo, as well as a character, he's someone that can easily be misjudged if you don't know who he is as a person. For instance, the League of Villains, when they captured him, they thought that Bakugo could have become a villain, because when you think about his personality, his actions around people, he does seem like material that would become a villain. But the thing is, though, is that if you really know Bakugo as a character, he would never become a villain. He just has a very rough exterior, and he doesn't really know how to convey his emotions properly in a very soft manner. And so he fits more of the Endeavor-like character, very rough, blunt, and mean. And because of that, people don't like Bakugo, because there is a lot of similarities with Bakugo and Endeavor. And I just think that it really pains me that many automatically want to trash this arc just because the two characters that are a part of this that had some horrible introductions, like they really did not have good first impressions, they have become so much greater since then. It bugs me. But okay, I'll stop there. Let me get into this chapter now. So first things first, since I'm already on the topic of Bakugo and Endeavor, as I said in my last chapter review, this is a great step forward for Endeavor and Bakugo. Because Bakugo needs a lot of hard lessons to learn of how to interact in the public eye. That was something that this arc has kind of already tried to say, is that your image in public really does matter, to be able to reassure individuals that you're here, to be able to give this presence that you're able to hold your own and, fight back against whatever villain you face. Basically, that's kind of what this arc is trying to show. And Bakugo, as we know, he's been in the public eye a lot, and he hasn't really gotten good publicity. I know many would say any publicity is good publicity, but that's not really the case in the hero world. If you have bad publicity, it can cause a lot of issues for you, to where you won't be able to do hero work, and many people won't rely on you, you won't be able to keep morale up, etc. It would end badly for you. And it's kind of like I said, if Endeavor's secret was ever given out, and, people found out about what he did to his family, it would probably ruin his entire career, because even if Endeavor does so much good, he saves millions upon millions of lives, if he saves the entire planet, okay? Let's just go on a limb here and say Endeavor, next chapter, he saves the entire planet. Okay, he fundamentally just ends the greatest threat that the world has ever seen, even greater than maybe even Shigaraki. But then his past story comes out, he would be ruined. Publicly. He would be ruined and nobody would ever forgive him, even though he did so much good in the world after those events. That's the point here, is that Bakugo, he needs to understand that he needs to be able to be in the spotlight in a bit more positive way. And Endeavor is obviously not perfect in that regard either. He definitely has struggled to really be positive and people to really respect him because he's very rough around the edges too. But thanks to the high-end, the Pro Hero arc, he has changed for the better. You could definitely see from his overall interaction with people around him, he is no longer the same person. He is definitely mellowed out. He is not as rough and arrogant, prideful, etc. as he was. He's someone that actually does seem to care, and he is taking his role as the #1 very seriously. He's no longer looking at it as like a title, he's looking at it as a responsibility, something that he needs to do to protect everyone in the world, or at least the people that are around him. It's very important. You could just really see by the way he carries himself that he holds that to a very high regard. Like, it's very high up there. He's not the same person. And that's kind of what Bakugo needs to learn, is that he is very arrogant, he's prideful, he has gotten a lot of development, and I think that even if he never met Endeavor, Bakugo would probably never end up like Endeavor, because he's definitely matured a lot, and being able to actually talk with All Might and find out about Izuku's secret would probably, you know, get rid of maybe the conflict between Bakugo and Izuku, because that's kind of what happened between Endeavor and All Might. When you really think about their two characters and why Endeavor was so, you know, headstrong on really making the perfect child to surpass him, was because he didn't know All Might's secret, why All Might was so strong, why his legacy that was been passed down for so long, he didn't understand it. If Endeavor really knew why All Might was so strong, because he had, like, so many people's powers compacted into his own, he probably wouldn't have been as headstrong or stubborn as he was. He probably would have ended up like Bakugo, mellowed out a little bit to where he wouldn't have done what he did to his family. So, I don't think Bakugo would ever be capable of it, thanks to his early interaction with Izuku and All Might. But even then, Endeavor has matured, and he has a lot of wisdom that he can teach Bakugo just from his presence alone and how he interacts with the people around him. So this is a really good arc. If you're wanting to probably see Bakugo character development and Endeavor character development, then this is the arc for you. I can definitely see it just because of the way they're going to be able to interact. I mean, the first phrase that Bakugo says to Endeavor in this chapter, he's like, "You're kind of a jerk." It perfectly summarizes both characters. It's kind of like, you know, it perfectly summarizes both characters, because they're both jerks, if you didn't really understand them. So, I do like that. So, getting into the next character, let's talk about Todoroki. Obviously, Todoroki being here and working underneath his father definitely shows a lot of development as well. Because if we think about the origin story of Todoroki and where we first met him, when we found out about his past, etc., when Izuku went after him in the tournament, the sports festival, we know that he is someone that wanted nothing to do with his father. Until recently, he finally warmed up a bit to where he is willing to interact with his father. It's very recent. And you can see that Todoroki is trying to look past the past and trying to actually better himself and learn from his father in at least the hero way. Because even if his father isn't a good father, he is a good hero. And that is what he's trying to learn. He wants to learn from his wisdom, his experience, and see what he can do to really be a great hero to protect everyone around him. So, you can see the maturity that Todoroki has gained. He has put aside his differences, his anger, to be able to better himself and think about those around him. So he's definitely on the path of becoming a really great hero. And for him to even be able to introduce his friends, Bakugo and Izuku, to Endeavor, his father, says a lot as well. Because you know in the past he wanted nothing to do with his father. That was a big thing. But for him to willingly invite those around him to be around his father also says a lot. So it shows growth. Todoroki has grown so much, and I really appreciate that fact that he has matured to this extent. And you can even see through Endeavor's interaction with Todoroki that he's no longer being this angry man that's like, you gotta surpass me, because when you think about his reaction, which I'll probably show a panel on the screen, of how he treated Todoroki in the past, he was always looking at Todoroki as an object, something that was a tool that would be him. And thanks to Izuku waking up saying he'll never be you know, he's changed for the better, obviously, which I'll get into Izuku's interaction with him in a second, but you can see that Endeavor isn't the same way. He actually respects Todoroki's decisions, what he wants, and looks at him actually like a person now, like a child, like his son, instead of like an object. So, big differences with their interaction. Now, looking at Izuku and Endeavor's reaction, it is definitely fundamentally probably the most interesting, because it just shows what type of effect Izuku had on Endeavor, but also the effect that Endeavor had on Izuku. And I think the biggest surprise many are going to get is that the sheer impact that Endeavor got from Izuku. And most likely, he is someone that's probably been thinking about it quite often, because that's when Endeavor's entire mentality started to shift. That's when cracks started to form. It was first in the sports festival when Todoroki just straight up said, "I forgot about you," and he kept walking forward past his father, and his father was just shocked that his son basically says, "I don't need you, I forgot about you, you're worthless to me," basically. It made him have a major wake-up call. He realized what he has done to his family, and like I said, I think that's when he really started to notice how awful he has been. And with the words from Izuku, it's probably been ringing in his head ever since the All Might event, but also the Pro Hero event with High End. He's probably been thinking about his public image, about how people view him, how he viewed his children, his family. I think that's something that's really plagued his mind. And so when you see him interact with Izuku and he basically says those words that Shoto isn't me, it's a big moment because it shows once again maturity. That he is now looking at his son as a person, not as an object. And he actually remembered something that a random person said to him and he kept it within his mind. He didn't just forget about it. So that's a big point there, is that he took to heart what Izuku said, a boy that he barely knew anything about, that he thought was just a stepping stone for his son to surpass to get stronger. So, just like that, Izuku also learned a lot. Even though Endeavor is someone that's very rough, like I've said, Izuku realizes that Endeavor's mentality, because of how he is, it definitely allows him to gain a lot of support. Because of his very firm action and how stubborn he is, people do look up to his mentality. He's not All Might. That is a big thing that we have learned. He is not All Might. He will never be All Might. But at the same time, though, he has a different way about being a hero that Izuku needs to learn as well. Because if Izuku wants to be the #1 hero, he needs to understand all different ways of being a hero. The stubborn side, the very strong side that's, not as vocal as, let's say, All Might, but he also needs to understand the All Might side too. Both sides he needs to learn from, and that's perfectly what he's getting now. He's learning from the best, honestly. So, yeah, I think that this arc is really shaping up to be some amazing stuff with what has been revealed in this chapter alone. But okay, let's get into the Hawks side of the story. So Hawks, obviously, he's in deep. He's in really deep to the point to where, like I've already said, he's probably going to die. If he doesn't die, he's going to become a turncoat. I really don't see him getting out of the situation with the Paranormal, Liberation Front without dying, or some form of major injury to either his hero record or something, because just everything that's happened now with just the growth of Shigaraki's group, but now he's being tracked by Skeptic as well, he can't really make a move without doing anything. And that's a big part here, is that Hawks even says within this chapter for a flashback that he's going to start getting monitored and that he's going to need to start speaking in code. Even if he does speak in code, Skeptic isn't dumb by any means. If there's one thing we do know, is that Skeptic is not someone you necessarily underestimate. We didn't get to see a lot of him, but we do know that he is incredibly intelligent and gifted. And for, I guess Horikoshi to keep him around, he's definitely going to be very important. And since his name is literally Skeptic, I highly doubt his name doesn't fit with that term. For instance, he's probably very skeptic of Hawks and his role in the Paranormal Liberation Front. Is he actually for them? Is he working with them? Is he trying to reveal them? And so with all those cameras, micro cameras and stuff on him, I feel like it's a double-edged sword, honestly. You have it to where Hawks is being able to learn from them, but at the same time, if he makes any moves, they learn from him and what he's doing. So technically, when you look at the situation, even if Skeptic knows that Hawks is a traitor, and they know Hawks is a traitor, there's nothing that Hawks can really do, because they have him now. They have him where they're gaining all sorts of information on the other heroes, and so even if he doesn't do anything, that theoretically ruins his relationship with the Paranormal Liberation Front, they're still getting other information on heroes, how they move, their patterns, etc., how they operate. So it's just, right now, Hawks is actually technically working against the heroes right now because of the information they're gaining. So it's really bad. And like I said, since Skeptic is very smart, he probably will figure out the code that they're speaking and figure out that he's a traitor, which can lead to other issues, like I said. So yeah, Hawks, he's not doing too good. He is not doing good at all where he is currently positioned within the story. So another thing to get into is the final part of the chapter, the villain that was introduced. Now, design-wise, obviously, amazing. I mean, when it comes to Horikoshi and villain designs, as I've always said, they're usually 10 out of 10. He makes really great designs. And when I look at the design, I think I'm not going to be the only one to mention this, but he looks a lot like Zenyatta. I think that's how you pronounce the name. The dude from Overwatch, he looks a lot like that, especially with how he floats. He has, like, his palms and all that, and how he keeps, like, in a praying position. You see the orbs flying around him. He does give off that presence. And personally, I don't think he's going to be relatively that strong, but I could be wrong. Looks can be deceiving, but we'll see where it goes. But I am looking forward to seeing, you know, the trio, Bakugo, Izuku, and Todoroki, and even Endeavor going up against this opponent. I actually kind of feel bad, honestly, because those three with Endeavor, the man's going to probably get curb stomped, but we'll see where it goes. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, and with that, Chibi out.